Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Oh My Gosh, You're Glowing podcast. I am your host, Lindsey Walker, and I am incredibly grateful for all of you who've already listened to episode one. I have received so much positive feedback, so much love, so much support from all of you, all of my listeners already, which I cannot even believe I get to say. So I'm just really super grateful for all of you. I'm so excited to be the one to be bringing these messages to you, sharing these experiences, the lessons, everything that I have for you. And so I just want to say thank you so much for being here. Your love, your support, your all of your messages do not go unnoticed. So thank you. I just really wanted to start off with that because I really wasn't expecting the amount of love and feedback and messages that I've received from so many people after really unexpectedly launching this podcast, which I kind of mentioned it when I started the last one. It was very unplanned. I literally sat down for a mic check and then ended up recording all of episode one. And truly, that's how it happened. I just was testing stuff out. I had this idea to start a podcast the Friday before I actually sat down and recorded it, which is still really super wild to think. It was like so clear. I had been wanting to start a podcast for a long time, and something just finally clicked that allowed me to just get out of my own way and do it. And I think I had really just been creating this blockage in my mind to say, like, it had to be this big production, this big project, because as I mentioned before, I'm a Taurus moon and I love things to just be really nice, high quality. And I wanted to just do it big. And I think little did I know, I just already had the ability to do it in the way that was going to be received best. And I was really holding myself back. So that's one of the messages I really wanted to leave you with at the beginning of this episode is if there's something that you're wanting to do, maybe it's in business, in life, in your relationship, in something, maybe it's moving, whatever it is, and you're feeling like I'm just waiting for the right time. First of all, there's never a right time, truly. You just have to do it when you feel called. You're never gonna feel ready for anything. The only time you're gonna feel ready is once you actually go out and do the thing that you've been saying, oh, I'm waiting for myself to feel ready to do it. Because if I waited to feel ready to start a podcast, I'd probably still be waiting. And now I feel this so much more flow of energy in my body, in my life, and in so many things in my business as well. And it was just that one channel that needed to be open. So there's no waiting to feel ready. You have to create that energy, create that feeling of readiness by just doing it because there's never going to be any perfect time. And so I just really wanted to share that message that came through from the creation of the way that this podcast even came about. And even the day I recorded it, it was a Wednesday, and I got up, I had a bunch of other meetings, a bunch of other calls to get on. And for whatever reason, like I think 30 minutes before I recorded it, I was outside with my husband and my dog. We were playing fetch, and I just came in, sat down. I was doing some podcast research, and just literally out of nowhere, it got recorded and came out of my mouth. So I'm still sitting with it in just true celebration for myself and true gratitude for all of you. So I just wanted to say thank you and pass off that message because I truly feel like someone is meant to hear this and it's going to truly change your life if you really listen and follow through. So, I'm super excited to get back into part of my origin story today. I know we left off last time talking about kind of what I call my certification collection time, which not a bad thing. I was just really in this learning phase, and that's what really kicked me off into this time of creating the business that I now have, and it's had so many evolutions since then. And so I really wanted to go through the experience and the story of how this all came about because I could have never seen it going this way, not even close. And the funny part was, I've been reflecting back on this time knowing that I wanted to record this episode, knowing that I wanted to record this story. And the funny part was, all of this really started with my health challenges. And I will say one of the things that I feel like I remiss to mention last time, I talked a lot about my breathing issues, which that was the main struggle of mine as far as health goes, originally. And I kind of mentioned digestive issues a little bit. And then I feel like I almost blocked this out of my mind because it was so traumatizing, for lack of better words. But some of the stomach pains I had were so terrible that we would cancel dinner reservations. We would be, scheduled to go out to dinner, me and my husband, and they would get so bad I would have to like curl up on the couch and couldn't go because they were that bad. I just had to let them pass. And so I just wanted to bring that up because maybe some of you resonated with some of the breathing issues I mentioned. Maybe some of you resonate with the digestive. Maybe some of you resonate with the fatigue and the lack of energy. Or maybe for you it's something totally different. I mean, we could sit here all day and go through all of the health issues I've had and all the symptoms. But the point is, no matter what you're dealing with, one, there's always a message there. And that's what I've learned throughout the course of my own experiences. There's always a lesson there in what your health challenges, what your symptoms are trying to teach you. I call them course correctors. I call them your health challenges are the path to your purpose ultimately. And they can be as severe as you having to cancel all of your plans and sit on the couch and never go outside and never do anything. Or they could just be, they are bothering you and they're nagging you and it's frustrating and difficult to go through life, but you're still kind of making it. There's such a array. And also the more and more you ignore them, the louder and louder they get. So the quieter they are, the more that you might feel like you can just go through your life and not really allow them to stop you. And maybe you feel like, oh, they're really not as bad. I don't have to pay attention to them. But the thing is, they're going to get louder the more and more you just consider them normal in your life. So this is your invitation to dive into what they are really telling you right now instead of waiting for that point where you start having to cancel reservations, plans, trips, all those things like that. Because I got to that point and it's not so fun. So I really got to this point where I just wanted to learn so much. I was dealing with all of these issues and I finally got to a point where I was like, okay, I actually want to help people do what I've been receiving. And it was super funny. So a lot of this took place starting in 2021. And I was actually just telling my mom about this because, again, I was reflecting on this time and thinking back to what was going on. And I just started diving into anything that interested me, like in the slightest. So it started out with learning about astrology. So I did Danielle Page's Astrology Mystery School. That was one of the first certifications I did because I was really interested in finding out my purpose, what I was here to do. At that point, I was so struggling with even a shift in career or changing career paths that I just wanted direction. And for whatever reason, astrology really resonated with me. For a while, I thought I was going to be an astrologer. It was like every single certification or class I did, I was like, oh, I'm going to be that. I'm going to do this. And what I have realized is I didn't necessarily have to go and do whatever they were teaching in that class as a career, but they've all been these really important pieces of information that I have in my toolbox and in my foundations and background as knowledge that have created the coach, the practitioner, and the businesswoman that I am today. So it was funny because when I started out with this astrology mystery school, I remember listening to Danielle Page say, it might have been on her podcast, I don't really know. She said something about a spiritual awakening. And I was like, what's that? Like, that sounds really interesting. And I was having all of these new thoughts at the time. 2020 was just like a whole string of fear. And 2021, I was finally starting to break out of that fear consistently. And I heard her say something about a spiritual awakening. And I was like, I think I'm in that. Like, what is that? I think that's happening right now. Yes, reflecting back now, that was definitely what was going on, but it was funny to hear someone say it. And there was something about that word that resonated. And all I could think of was, I think that's what's happening to me right now. Is that what this is? Okay. Someone finally put words to it. Lovely. My life feels like it's in shambles and I don't know what I'm doing. So that was kind of how my quote unquote first aware spiritual awakening started, the one I was like aware of. And so I really dove into so many certifications trainings to figure out why I'm here, what's my purpose, what am I doing here, what am I good at? Because before I felt like I was just really doing things on so much of an autopilot state that I did have this awareness. I was like, okay, next time I can choose like what I'm going into. I actually want to choose. And so I started to do so much more self-development, inner work. I didn't have those words for it at the time, but that's what it was. And it was a combination of knowing that I had felt so much pain and suffering and discomfort through my own health challenges, and then wanting to find my path and purpose, and wanting to also help people because I know how much I had struggled and how much frustration I went through. And so I was definitely feeling like I wanted to marry these two together and help people so that they wouldn't have to struggle as much as I did. So that was really my intention going through all of these different trainings. And like I said, started with learning about astrology, went into nutritional therapy practitioner training because I had had so much success from working with two nutritional therapy practitioners myself. And I just loved what they were doing. What I also saw was that they were able to have a certification and it wasn't going back through like a 4-year school degree because I definitely considered going back to school to become a naturopath, going back to school to become an acupuncturist. I'm trying to think of anything else. I think those were the two that I seriously looked into, and they were just, for me, they were too long. I was like, I just don't want to go back to school for that long. I want to help people now. I don't want to wait 4 years to even get started. But I really wanted to help people in a more holistic root cause way. So once I saw that NTP training, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, this is it. At the time, 10 months compared to 4 years sounded like a steal of a time, which is part of the reason I went for that for a foundational training. And that was really a certification and a training to gain foundations using food as medicine. Honestly, it was a lot of what I already knew, but adding in more, I don't know, tangible information to it to really explain, why all of this was going on, why this is happening in your body. And I definitely gained a deeper understanding of the body when going through that course. So it was super great for me. What I found towards the end of it was that it focused so much on the physical body, and I knew that it was missing the energetic piece and the emotional piece that I felt like was the part that was really frustrating to me. And I knew I wanted to bring in more of the energetics. So I just needed to gain the foundations first through the NTP certification. So started with that. Like I had mentioned in the last episode, then I start after that into getting certified in mind, body, spirit release, go all the way up to be a professional practitioner. And again, I'm thinking like that's going to be it. Mind you, I'm also still going through my own spiritual awakening. Like each course I take, each training I take is like unlocking new things in my mind, having new awarenesses. And I think as soon as I got into the NTP certification, there was just this knowing of I'm going to start a business. I'm going to help people. I saw that these two women who had really helped me in this group coaching program that I was in, it was like group coaching for root cause healing. And I saw these two women making money helping people. And so that was finally like what clicked in my head of this could actually be a career. Like I could actually transition my job into doing what they're doing because I saw them doing it full time. I saw that they didn't have to go get a degree as a naturopath or an acupuncturist or a full-on doctor, which, was a slight interest to me, but not enough to really pursue it. I saw that they were helping people and had so much knowledge with these certifications that I could just get with where I was at. And that was really the connection that I think I needed in my brain to see other people doing what I wanted to do, seeing other people helping women heal their bodies, heal from a root cause perspective, having all this knowledge and training and getting paid for it and being a full-time practitioner. So at that point, I knew I was going to start a business. That's when I started my Soul Fam Wellness Instagram account. And I knew I wanted to bring in energy work as well. And that's when I started doing the MBSR certification. And so that was the bulk of my work for 2021 into 2022. At this point, I'm like almost done with my NTP certification. I was about to graduate. And I had completed all levels of MBSR training. And MBSR is energy work, but it is, it works with muscle testing. I do it with coaching clients, but I don't do it individually anymore. I feel like it really supports when I'm working with coaching clients. That's my personal preference. So I still keep it as a toolbox. It's something in my toolbox, but I don't offer it separately anymore. But it is something where we are able to release energy, emotions, limiting beliefs, you know, spiritual beliefs, stuck energy of all different kinds. So I saw a lot of success with it, using it with myself, and especially with people who are chronically ill. The mindset piece is huge. And so when we can see what is actually, what vibrations and what energy is related to the blocks that we're releasing that are connected to how you're feeling, that can be really helpful for people. I don't love using it all the time because sometimes I don't think you need to know the details and the specifics. And in this case, it does give you more details and specifics. So if it comes up in as far as like in my work and in my testing, then to me it's something that is useful to the person that's receiving it. And if it doesn't come up and it's more, generic energy work and clearings, then I feel like that's what's needed for that particular person. But at the time, I was doing that with NTP work, and I had planned on just taking clients in that aspect. So, really working on creating foundations in their diet, lifestyle, and then energy work, and really with these MBSR clearings. So, this is like summer of 2022 at this point. I have already created my business to a point. I had started most of it. I had a business account on Instagram, which to me was like super official. I have a lot more to say about that. We're going to save that for another time because I recently did a complete switch on how I utilize my Instagram accounts. But at the time, Soulfam Wellness was the main one. And it's still my business account today. But I thought I was done. Like, I thought I was done, learning and taking certifications. I felt for like a hot second complete. And then so I was I was creating and painting my office. At this point beforehand, this room that I'm in, if you're watching this on video, was just like a random spare room that we really weren't using in our house. And I started to realize like I want to take clients. I was going to take them online, virtually and things, but I was like I really want a space to be able to work in and take clients and just have my own space. So I think I came back right from MBSR training. I went to the in-person one in Houston. It was in February. I came back and I'm like, I'm transforming this room into my office. I just had this knowing. It was crazy. I did it in about a week or so. It was pretty quick. You'll get the feeling around here that like once I have like a real clear knowing in something, I do it fast. And it's like I might hang around and have an idea for a little while, but as soon as the clarity comes through, it's like an instantaneous move for me. So this was one of those times. And all of a sudden I knew I was like, I am painting this office. I am going to make this my office and transform this entire room. So during my painting, I was obviously listening to podcasts, which I love. And I was listening to a Sahara Rose podcast. And I always said, if I'm listening to a Sahara Rose podcast, like watch out because my life's going to flip upside down. I'm going to find out some new thing from her and something's going to shift and change. Well, sure enough, it did. And on that podcast, I heard about Nikki Novo. She was on the show. And she was talking about and promoting, at the time, it was called Soul Teacher. Well, actually, I think, no, she was promoting Soul Expansion at the time, which doesn't exist anymore, but it was the prerequisite a little bit to Soul Teacher. But it was one of her programs. And I heard on the podcast talking about that she can train people to read energy. And she was talking about the Akashic records and saying that, she can help you meet your spirit guide. And I was like, what in the world is this? But I was super intrigued. I'm like, wait, she can help you read energy? Like, I'm super intrigued. Like, I'm in. I was really, really scared about the whole spirit guide thing. I was not excited about that, but I was like, you know what? I had heard about the Akashic records. I had no idea what they were, but I was like, I have to go learn from this woman. I truly have no idea why, but I have got to go learn from this woman. So I sign up for Soul Expansion, go through her entire program. All of a sudden, my entire world flips upside down. It's basically like intuition training 101. I had literally no idea what I was getting myself into. But she was coming at it from such a high vibrational light and love, and it just felt so supportive. And everyone that was in there was newer, and I felt like I was definitely one of the newest ones. I had no idea what I was doing. I had never read energy before in my entire life. I didn't even really know what it meant, but she said that she could train us. And so I went through that program, and that was like the first program of all of my trainings and certifications that I was doing at the time that I had told myself, I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing it for my business. I'm not bringing this into my business. I'm just doing it for my own personal development and support. Yeah, well, that obviously didn't happen. Surprise. I end up going into Soul Teacher right after that, which was more of the professional class too. It was like very similar to Soul Expansion, but it was a more professional way to learn how to read energy, learning about how to do intuitive healings, and doing more work in the Akashic records and connecting more with the soul's essence. So I quickly transformed within those 6 months, and now I'm sitting at the end of 2022, and my business is all of a sudden like basically absorbing this work. And now I'm bringing intuitive readings and intuitive healings into my business, which again, I had zero plan of. And it just kind of organically happened where I started having a lot of questions about my health challenges and symptoms. And there was so much ascension symptoms that I had felt in Soul Teacher when I was going through it personally. And actually, in some of the practice circles, people were like, "Oh, did you tap into your symptoms?" And I was like, "No, how do you do that?" So it was like I was prompted by other people to like, "Hey, you should start going into your symptoms to see like what the messages are." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't really think about doing that," because in the program we really focused on reading the chakras, not necessarily specific parts on the body. Now, she told us obviously you can like read whatever you want, but we were super trained on the chakras. So that's where my head was. Not until someone said, "Hey, have you tried reading your symptoms?" did I even think that that was a possibility, or it just didn't register. So I quickly started to practice reading people's symptoms, and that reading was the start of one of my signature offerings. Now, all of my signature offerings since I've added intuitive readings and intuitive work into my business has always included a healing, because that to me really brings in the energy work that I love, and usually utilizing energy work to clear out stuck energy of any kind, stuck emotions, stuck energy, all kinds of things. There's all kinds of stuck energy that things that can be stuck energy. We'll go into that later in a different episode. But I realized how much I just channel these healings for people, custom healings on my one-on-ones. I do a lot of guided meditations where I just channel these like really intricate healings. If you're in any of my programs, on any of my coaching programs or courses or anything that I put out, it's all these channeled healings, these channeled guided meditations that truly just come to me. Like I'll set an intention and I just see it in my mind's eye. It's super exciting and like really wild. I remember one of the first times someone wanted to just like do this practice circle or like a practice healing, and someone just asked like, "Oh, does anyone want to lead it?" And for whatever reason, I was like, "Yes, I'll do it." And I just channeled this entire intricate healing. I'll never forget it. And they come to me like visually in my mind's eye, and I just see them, and I have this entire scene I walk people through. And so that has created basically the basis of my signature offerings now. So I brought that into the business unexpectedly at the end of 2022. And then 2023 was really just more about me getting solid in what I was offering, what I was creating. I knew at that point that I had so many tools in my toolbox that were so helpful and just could transform, has the power to transform someone's life exponentially, that I was like, if I just got someone in this space and I could pick from whatever toolbox I needed to pick through, like this is the perfect space for someone. And I guess something I've also, forgot to mention is the muscle testing that I do. And I never really took a specific course, I suppose, on it. It was taught to us in MBSR, but it was also something that I've just kind of picked up and learned, you know, along the way. I knew about it beforehand, and then it's kind of been sprinkled into a bunch of different trainings and certifications I've taken. And so I've just really refined my muscle testing skills and abilities and brought that into my practice as well, which is super helpful in the root cause space, but I use it in tandem too with a lot of the energy work that I do as well. So 2023 was all about refining my signature offering. I finally started to create coaching packages for people to really come in. And that's what I love about the coaching package space. And up until recently, I've actually had a really hard time identifying and like calling myself a coach, only because I felt like a little bit of a fraud. I'm like, none of my certifications or like pieces of paper say that I'm a coach. But like, I have all these practitioner certifications. I've done all of these trainings. And I just realized that I've been coaching people for years. I coach most people for free just because that's just my natural ability. That's my natural personality. That's just how I operate. And also when I mix it with the intuitive channeling, I'm like reading people's energy and really like channeling these messages, and I can really feel what they're telling me energetically, even if they're not saying the exact words. So that's been one of the things that I've been working through for myself recently, and just allowing myself to be this multidimensional intuitive health coach that I am, bringing all these tools together that I've learned, all of these things that have helped me on my path, helped me heal, because those are the only ones that I have ever been certified in. If it was something that helped me as a client, as a patient, that's what I went to learn because I knew that it worked. I knew that I had success with it. Now, I will say the intuitive readings was something that I, again, just did for myself, but then I would experience them in practice circles with the other women in the group. And that's when I realized how powerful that work really was. And it was something that I just couldn't ignore. It's definitely something that I am learning to bring back. It's a real healing in this lifetime for me. I've had, some awareness from some past lives about really healing that essence of being a spiritual leader, and maybe it not working out so well for me in the past. And so this is the opportunity for me to bring it forward in a more modern way and mixing it with some of these other tools and services that I offer. And I think that's honestly part of the reason I've been so quiet on social media. This is why it's taken so long for me to start a podcast. I'm even thinking about the people who may listen to this one and hear me talking about all the stuff I just said and maybe thinking that I'm actually crazy. And you know what? Like I've dealt with so much of that fear of what other people think, so much that the more that I let other people's potential opinions dictate what I do, the more that I am actually being a disservice to others because I'm not offering my true gifts in the world that I am meant to bring. And so I feel like this podcast is just this opportunity for me to really start sharing what I've been doing for these last few years and what's truly helped me, even if people think I'm crazy and nuts. And, even if this is something that is new to you or you don't totally understand it or you don't totally agree with it, I didn't know any of this stuff either. But I always came at it from this openness, this open mind, and this open spirit. And I will always say I'll always try anything once. You should probably try something more than once because once is, maybe not going to give you the full experience. But most things I will try once. And that allows me to have this really open-hearted space to bring in things that my mind doesn't totally understand. But that's what's gotten me here. That's what's led me to so much healing. That's what's led me to open these doors into these experiences, into these modalities that if I was super closed off and thought I knew everything before I actually allowed myself to experience them, I wouldn't have allowed them to come into my life. And that would have stopped the potential healing for my clients, for these people that I meant to serve. So my services have evolved and changed a lot over the past few years, and I'm sure they will continue to. But what I love really about what I offer is that I've taken my experiences as a patient, as a client, but I've also taken them as a practitioner and seen what truly is working. But I'm also bringing in so many different aspects from the physical, mental, emotional, energetic, and spiritual lens into this one place so that when clients come to me, I am able to tap into so many different tools to say, okay, what do you need? What kind of support do you need right now so that I can offer that to them without them having to go to 500 different people, because that was my experience. And that's not bad. There are some people that need to have that experience with different people. And maybe that was my experience, to be able to see, okay, well, they're an expert in this and they're really tapped into this thing. But I feel like I'm the person that gets to bring this all together, because I see people as a whole human and soul, and there's so much connection. We are not separated. So I bring in the seen and the unseen worlds together to help people heal. And that's really been the basis and the creation of my business that I totally did not see coming at all. And to top it all off, at the beginning of this year, for whatever reason, I was like, oh, yeah, let me add one more thing because what I have isn't enough. And then went and got certified to become a breathwork teacher, which I feel like is just another fantastic tool to be able to get you out of your mind into your body and connect you to your soul on a much, much deeper level. And again, as someone who has had previously severe breathing issues, breathwork has been one of the things that has truly helped me heal. And I've been doing it since 2021. So I never had seen myself as a teacher of it. And a lot of it was just because I never saw myself in that position to lead, to speak, to guide people on stage like that. And the intuitive readings and the intuitive training that I went through actually allowed me to see myself in that light, to see myself as more of a guide as I've been channeling these healings and these guided meditations. So by the time I got through that, I started to begin to see myself as more of this teacher. And I was more open to learning breathwork as a teacher and not just being someone who used it in my own personal practice. So as of today, it's November of 2024. As of today, I have brought in this multidimensional, this is like the word that I'm loving to use, this multidimensional healing space for people where whether you are struggling with chronic health issues that you feel like have lasted for years, or these are these maybe nagging, more acute symptoms that feel like they don't have an explanation, you don't totally know where they've come from, my gift to everyone that comes into my space is to be able to show you what your health challenges and what your symptoms are trying to teach you and trying to show you in ways that you may not have seen before. Because I've seen so many different ways to look at them, to explain them, to heal them, to support yourself, and to really move through them, that I will guide you into the space that you're meant to go into. And so many people come to me, most people that come to me have been to 50 other people already. And I'm usually at the end of their line because I think so differently from most people. And I used to see that as a downfall, but I'm working on seeing that as a gift, because I do see things. I do see the world differently than others. But that's the way that I really can bring my gifts, my specialty, my services to the people who are ready and open, because I don't see health challenges in the normal space as most people. Even, some holistic health coaches are probably going to see things differently than me. And that's okay. That's totally okay, because I know that whoever resonates with me is meant to go into this deep work, because it is deep work. We're not just hanging out at the surface, because that's what I've seen truly help people heal, is the deep inner work. We're not just hanging out at the surface, no Band-Aid fixes, no playing whack-a-mole with symptoms, right? So I have discovered that I trigger a lot of people because I want to go so deep with you. And I know that going deep is what creates that true healing, but it's going to make you face your own shadows and make you face your own shit. So that's where I've landed in my business today. I am loving, loving, loving supporting my one-on-one clients, and you will definitely be seeing more group programs, group events, and I will be continuing to expand my offerings in creating this really intimate space for women. That's where my true passion lies. So that's really what I'm going to be working on come 2025. But I just wanted to really like walk you through the story of like where I started and where I'm at now. And I'm sure it's going to change and I'm sure it's going to shift. But I never had any plans to be where I'm at today. I never had plans to like be the girl who is like reading energy and like reading the purpose of your soul and, doing healings in the Akashic records. Like that wasn't my plan. But I've seen so much transformation and healing. It's the things that I cannot look away from that maybe people say are crazy and you're weird, but they work. And as much as it would probably be easier for other people if I just stayed in the nutrition space and, didn't make other people feel uncomfortable, that's not what I'm here to do. And I'm really here to offer this new way of healing, this new way of thinking, opening up your awareness to a new space. And I've always been kind of the weird one anyways, so I might as well just continue it now. I don't know why I would try to become normal today because at this point, like what's the point? So, it's been a wild ride. I'm sure I am in for an even wilder one, especially putting out this podcast and literally sharing all of this with you. It minorly terrifies me, but also feels super expansive at the same time. So, that is all of how I got to where I'm at in business, along with my spiritual awakening that like still to this day cracks me up when I heard people say they talked about a spiritual awakening and I'm like, am I in the middle of that? Is this what's happening now? And now I'm like, oh, yes, this is happening. So I truly, truly love helping people tap into their intuition and tap into your own spiritual gifts because that's the one thing I want to leave you with. As I work with people, and this is what I've truly learned. I love helping and guiding people to heal. But what I don't do is I don't want to be your guru. I don't want to be the person that you give your power away to. And that's part of what I really help people with is tapping into your own intuition and your own inner gifts so that I'll ignite the fire in you and I'll help get you there and at least get you started on your path, but I'm not going to carry you forward. That's your job because I want you to stay in your own power. And that part is so important because so many people, especially in the intuitive space and, doing readings, they will try to take your power away. So using your own discernment for who is trying to empower you and who is trying to take your power is so important because teaching you how to listen to yourself, use your own discernment, use your own intuition is going to create stronger and more powerful healing than me doing it for you. So yes, I love to guide. I love to facilitate healings, but it's not about me being the doer. It's me being the guide and you doing the work. So I feel like that's super, super important to me. And I just feel like that is important to say and to be known because that is at the core of my work. So we are going to wrap up this episode with that. And I'm super excited to continue this. I have a few notes for the next few episodes. I probably going to bring on a guest to help me explain a story that I feel like is super, super important and has been on my mind for a while. So look out for that. Look out for all the new episodes. And I just want to thank you all again for tuning in to the Oh My Gosh, You're Glowing episode. This is all about creating that glow from the inside out. So all of this healing, all of these experiences that I'm telling you about is what creates that lasting healing. That's what creates that lasting glow that you and others see. It's not necessarily about the other people. It's truly about how you see yourself, but it's how you also feel. But we can't be remiss when people are like, hey, you look fantastic. You are glowing. Like, yes, celebrate that. Like, celebrate those compliments. So I'm super excited to continue on this journey with you. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're on YouTube watching this video, make sure you subscribe so that you can get the notifications for every time I post a new episode. And if you are on Spotify or Apple, make sure you follow and give me a 5-star rating for this podcast so that I can get this out to more people. Yes, I know my internal of being seen is like freaking out, but we're here for more of that. And I hope to inspire you as well. So, thank you so much for joining, and I will see you in the next one. Have a beautiful day, and I love you so much. Bye, everyone.